What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life Is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a couple of people in G Plus and a couple of people in Discord as well, I believe. So I'll leave you with their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
That's amazing when you go to the Holy Land and you read the Bible and you just see the physical geography for the first time. And then it's just popped. Every scene, every episode, every encounter just came alive because, you know, you have the story and you have the places. And then when you go to the places and that's where the story was and you see it, it's just mind-boggling, the feeling you get.
Yeah, last time I read the Bible, which was last year, from beginning to end, I was checking like the map and even Google Earth and even some of the location site pics just to like, I don't know, like get a better understanding of like context and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and I used to do that too. But I'll tell you one thing, the proximity of things are much. That's what is highlighted when you're there. It's like, oh, here's Mount Olives. Oh, there's the Kidron Valley. Oh, there's the Temple Mount. Oh, there's the Eastern Gate. Oh, there's the, you know, it's all right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you get a bearing as to location and how close each of these areas around Jerusalem was.
Jesus did a lot of walking, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah. No Uber back then.
No Uber. There was a guy on chat, I think it was yesterday. He was asking if Jesus was a human, if he was a real man. So somebody answered and said yes. And then he goes, well, then how did he walk on water? I mean, oh, God.
Oh, my gosh.
I wonder about these things.
Everything, this is the funny thing. Everything we know about Jesus in the New Testament, written down by eyewitnesses. And God breathed into the holy book called the Bible. Now, what you do with it afterward is up to you. But if you just take the account that's given, he's 100% man, but he's also 100% God in human form. And so he broke the laws of nature to walk on water, because no one could walk on water as a human being. You have to break the laws of nature. That's the miracles that validated his deity. I mean, is this that difficult to figure out?
No. Anon is another one that used to frustrate me. I think they're just God haters, and that's it.
Hey, Paul.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Hey, Paul. Good morning. Hey, Nathan. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, it's back to Neil here. It's okay. You don't have to believe, but at least let the record speak for itself. That's what is stated. That's what the witnesses saw, and that's what Christians believe because of the evidence and the history. And even the hostile witnesses have to admit he did miracles. So to say a human cannot walk on water, that's true. But if you break the laws of nature, which God did, then that would be a miracle. In fact, every miracle is a violation of nature.
That's why it's a miracle, right?
Exactly. I mean, what's more difficult, walking on water or raising Lazarus from the dead and showing that you're God in human form and you have the powers to break the laws of nature? Does it matter at this point? I mean, he either is God in human form or he's the biggest liar, lunatic there ever was.
Yeah, that's a C.S. Lewis quote, right? Didn't he say that?
He sure did.
Yeah.
It's a great thesis, if that's the right word I'm using, that he wrote about it. Did you catch Ballbusters? I wasn't able to. Neil?
Listening back to it when I was talking to my brother John on the phone, that was hysterical. You got to listen to it, 10th.
No, I will. I was telling Righteous I was so busy I couldn't, but I'm going to listen to it because I love the top three.
I split it into 3 videos because it was quite long. It's nearly 4-hour show, so I just split it into the sky vacuum, Coriolis effect, and the black swan, all separately.
Yeah, I saw the one you put up today. It was for gas pressure, right?
No, the most recent was Coriolis. I did them in reverse order, so we started with Coriolis and ended with Black Swan, but when I republished them, I did them in reverse. So I did them Black Swan, then gas pressure without a container, then Coriolis.
I just clicked on the one you had this morning and saw it was the gas pressure one, and then it was like 1 hour, 4 minutes long or something. But I'll be able to listen to it in the greenhouse for 4 hours.
Yeah, it's a fun-packed show. I was really excited to do it all last week, in case you hadn't gathered.
No, I did. It was leading up to it each day.
Now, although it's jam-packed with information, it's an unequivocal debunking of the heliocentric system with those 3 points. So, once you debunk that you're spinning, and you debunk that there's a sky vacuum called outer space, and you debunk that Earth's a sphere, there really isn't anything left for the heliocentric religion at all. It's completely debunked.
Yeah, any one of those single-handedly does it as well. But when you put them all 3 together, it's like all game over.
Yeah. I mean, they're all equally important as well, but, you know, the black swan has got to be your favourite because the Earth being a sphere, it tackles that head on. So,
yeah, and
I still think a lot of people don't get the argument, though, Nathan, because on 24/7 last night, they broke down the black swan and they just are not getting it. They're bringing up the oil rigs, and they're also saying right after that ships go over the horizon. So it's like, you're not getting it.
That's okay. You know, when Quantum Eraser first came out with it, he said 6 to 8 months minimum. That quickly got extended to 12, and then, you know, ramped up beyond that, depending on the dumb level of the person that you're talking to. Now, I can see it in the people who challenge us in the comments, because they're all too scared to come here and present their absolutely appalling rebuttals. But I assume you're talking about the other side, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's only gonna slowly sink in because no one's given any concise debunking, and there isn't going to be one that comes. the attempts at debunkings, it's a straw man. Well, it's your model. We've got two horizons. No, we haven't. The poor attempts at rebutting it will, take time for people to appreciate that isn't a rebuttal and why it's not. And in almost all of the instances when they give a rebuttal, if they give a rebuttal at all, it actually makes matters worse for them. In other words, it sends their model further down the spiral, so to speak. But that'll take time.
Nathan, do you think there's two categories of ballers who fight this? One category, the one we just went over. The other category, I would say, that possibly exists is the ones do get it, but they have to be in denial as they fight it. But they do get it because they're stuck. That's why they're not on the show anymore.
One of the 5 steps: ridicule, denial, anger.
Yeah,
sorrow and acceptance, or something like that. But it's gonna be one of those that it's gonna be a slow burn for those who don't get it. And as people who are more intelligent do get it, they start to highlight the nature of the argument in their argument. And the people who I see that do get it are quite self-confident when they're doing it. In other words, they're kind of self-assured in that it's not like an argument about like with the Maccold Lighthouse, where you're arguing with the confines of the calculator and they're always going to win. People don't want to get involved in that. You're fighting a losing battle, or at best you can come away with a draw. Whereas those who recognise the power of the Black Swan argument go, oh right, there is no rebuttal to this then. That's kind of it. And when you know that, you're going to be more keen to argue it, because regardless of the level of stupidity of the person you're debating against, you're never going to come away with a loss. The only way you're going to come away with a loss, as Neil was saying, was if you misinterpret the argument or don't understand the argument. The argument's very clearly set out. Distance to horizon is the argument. So if you start babbling on about the demarcation points, the oil platforms, and arguing about what they're doing, it's like, well, who cares what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, the whole radius is a thought experiment. The Jedi mind trick. And can't defend it. They can't bring proof to show it. And it's being unveiled in front of them that they were tricked from the beginning.
It's the hardest thing to cope with as well. The rationale that you have to accept that you've been tricked, to accept that you've been misled, is a really hard thing to get people to do. No one wants to be the stupid guy that got fooled. So they've all been fighting for this, and in some cases, or most cases at the moment, they're like happy to take the short term, I could just blurt out straw man, and then I've won, walk away confident that you've done a good job. And 6 months from now, when we're like, no, that's still not a rebuttal, claiming that your own geometry as a straw man isn't going to get you very far, because it's based in your argument and your religion and your geometry. So calling a straw man isn't going to work very well. Same goes for claiming that the horizon we see is based on a different horizon. Well, it can't be defined as a horizon then. Definitely not a horizon. So, they've got nowhere to go with the argument, and the loose ends that they will leave when they try and rebut it will be quickly picked up on by people who do understand the argument, and upon having it pointed out to them again and again and again, it will slowly sink in. And it's not just the case that you have to think, oh, why aren't they getting it? Well, we knew they wouldn't get it. They've got a very, very thick layer of bullshit that you've got to cut through, and this cuts through every single layer. Well, the fact that people won't recognise that immediately, that's no bad thing. To have a concise, comprehensive debunking of an entire religion, you've got to have something that's really rock solid, and it's not going to be one word or two words. It's just not going to be that simple. It's been formulated into a logical consistency, and at the very least, you've got to understand logic. A lot of people don't, so it's not for everyone. But over time, the logical consistency will be broken down for those who are attempting to debunk it in a way that they have to understand it.
Yeah, logic, the real state of affairs. That's the one.
My 17-year-old threw what do you call that? gravitational lensing at me Saturday, and he's claiming that proves the bending of space-time. I don't know if I have no idea what that is, so I did not know how to answer him.
So, two things. Gravity's not a force. Space-time is just a concept. So, okay. People throw out these clever words. People throw out these big words and think that they've got a great explanation because they understand words like space-time. So, they're thwarted by somebody who's got a better understanding that just asks a simple question like, well, show me space-time. And then they'll start describing it to you.
I did say that.
Yeah, show it me.
I did ask him that, and I did say gravity. I said, you're assuming gravity already, and you're not telling me what gravity is.
Don't tell him. Show. Show it me.
Yeah.
Show me what gravity is. Same goes
he
for
said they
space-time.
observed it.
Yeah, well, then you can see it. Let's have a look at it then. If you've observed it, let's have a look. Let's all observe it together.
And then Kosho, in the after show Saturday, was telling me that was done in 1917 or 18. Some sort of experiment was done. I don't know.
Maybe we'll get to hear about it.
Nothing can be true.
Maybe we'll get to hear about his experiment.
Was an experiment. It was an observation, or wait a minute, Texas sharpshooter fallacy, maybe.
We can't assume these things, but so far not so good, given that we've asked for scientific evidence for a good couple of years now, and none has been forthcoming.
Morning, guys.
Hey.
Chocolate. Well, there's a statement about the illogical cannot exist in reality. And that's exactly what they're fighting for, is the illogical arguments for something that is not real.
Well, by the standards that you laid down earlier, when talking about Jesus and miracles, the sky vacuum would be, by your standards, a miracle. It's a violation of a law of nature. So
True.
They want the sky to be a miracle.
For sure.
So let me tell you what my son told me as an observation here. He said, if you take a piece of sheet metal and you bend it and kink it, and you flash a flashlight on it, you could see the light bending. I said, but where's the sheet metal in space?
Sorry, you can see the light bending if you shine light through something that's got a stress put into it in a bend. What?
This is the level.
I mean, that's ad hoc at best. And explain anything.
The argument's very thin.
No, but I was saying, I could see that here on a piece of sheet metal. Yes, light is going to wrap around wherever the kink is. But where is your sheet metal in space?
Well, they'll be bending conceptual mediums. They won't be bending sheet metal. Using a false equivalence isn't going to give you bending space-time. You know what I mean? Show me space-time, then show me you bending it. Oh, what's that? It's just a concept. Oh, you can't bend concepts.
That's just such an easy one to get. The way you said that is so easy to understand. They trip over that because they need it. They need that fantasy.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Sane, 10th Man, Paul Hall, Righteous Force, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning. Have we all had a lovely, non-eventful lockdown weekend?
I was busy working.
Take that as a yes.
I'm still working, so I was enjoying my weekend being off. Not too much has changed for me, luckily.
Yeah, we discussed this before. Same here. Should we do a bit of housekeeping, though?
Mm-hmm.
Any signs of a physical Earth curve edge, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from Vail, Colorado.
Any signs
Black Swan.
I was waiting for that. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
We'd know it.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for the distance, but it's over there.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
I think Neil could say something about this.
Do you want to go over your... Go on,
No
Neil.
scientific evidence of gravity.
Do you want to go through bending a sheet metal example?
I got to get my son for that one. One day I'm going to get him on the show, Nathan. I think he's
Fair
a
enough.
little intimidated by you, but I will get him on here one day.
Fair enough. Hey, Arwin, good to have you.
Hello.
Can I say, I was trying to say it at the end of the beginning of the after or the before show, but we know that light is bending from straight. That means that it's going through a differential medium. When we only know that air and temperature variation and things, or even glass can bend light. So they're saying that space-time is a differential medium if it's light is bending from straight, right?
Sorry, yeah, that wasn't rhetorical, clearly. It's a conceptual medium. What are you going to bend?
Yeah, and how does a conceptual medium, how does it, what's the pressure difference? What's the temperature difference? What's the density gradient in this conceptual medium?
Well, I can just make it up. It's conceptual. I can give
Yeah,
you the numbers
Whatever
if you
you
want.
think it is.
Yeah, but all those things are all like primary, and the medium really where it takes place virtually is in another layer. So it is like a new depth to the normal experienced reality. And well, Einstein then speculated that that was a factor of time in some way. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just that you can't really prove it because we're bound to the. I think even Einstein said it. We're literally in our experiences bound to the normal 3D reality in a linear fashion. So we can't technically experience pseudo-Riemannian force space, even if it was there, because it's like a preset to normal reality.
How about something being a reflective surface and just reflecting?
No, not
That's not-
surface. Space-time. Conceptual medium.
I'm talking about the sheet metal.
Why? Who cares? This is not what sheet metal debate.
I think he's talking about throwing the wrench in the works.
Look, while it might be
Also,
fascinating to talk about light refracting, yes, the light can refract. So what? What does this have to do with gravity?
Oh, right. Wasn't it speculated that if gravity is strong enough, multiple times supposedly stronger than the Earth's gravity, that it can even bend light out of whack? Right?
Well, gravity's
So
not a
they
force.
claim-
It's a bending of a conceptual medium. How many times am I going to have to say this?
Hang on. I was once blinded by a DeLorean going down the street. What's that all about?
What's going on? Is this another sheet metal joke?
It's not a joke. I mean, the sun hits the stainless steel of a DeLorean and it reflects. I'm just saying this is normal. Well, how does that prove gravity?
It doesn't prove or disprove it in any way, shape, or form. But thank you so much, 10th Man. This has been
You're welcome.
excellent input, as always. Right, should we move on? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
None whatsoever.
Are they working on it? Like
They're not even working
the
on it.
scientific evidence that their entire field has any point, as a viable point.
It goes down really well at pseudoscience parties when you say things like that, I tell you. You do realise your entire profession is just bunk nonsense pseudoscience. You do realise that, don't you? Yeah, it goes down really well.
They'll just take another glass of champagne and forget about that you said that.
The bottom of that glass, God is waiting for them. Moving on.
Good comeback. Lovely.
Moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
It's a very far away, fantastical imagination that has been artistically represented many times. But it's always been like a fantastical thought experiment about imagining what something would be like where you can never get, where you can never really see it or confirm it for real. But still,
Like
it
a
has
black-
apparently fascinated people for a long time because the pictures of it, sketches, and that has existed for some time.
Like a black hole, Arwen, in the darkness of so-called outer space.
No.
You can see a black hole.
No. Black hole as a concept was invented much later, I think. It really was Einstein that did that in that period.
Right, but you can't see a black hole with a black background. So how in the world do you spot a black hole?
Red dwarf
You
joke.
calculated, but the molten iron core, I think that idea was much older. I don't know if we're to believe that Jules Verne was a real that those things, those writings, that all that was real and not some fictional writer and all that, then you could consider that idea that there is like another realm beneath. He filled it in with all kinds of fantastical creatures and hollow earths and all that back then, apparently. But yeah, molten iron core was also among it. So people have been imagining what it would be like down there for a long time, way before the concept of black holes were thought up.
Wow. I was just
No
making a
scientific evidence, though.
Thank you. That's where I was going.
That's the longest answer we've had on that question for quite some time. Any evidence of R, Earth radius?
Black swan.
No.
Another thought experiment? Another quasi-medium, maybe?
At best, they need to figure out what the radius of Earth actually is now.
It doesn't have a radius.
Well, in their model, they have to refigure it out. Like,
Well, that's set in
how do we
stone.
get
That's-
R back in some way?
No, that's set in stone. That's never going to change. The model just crumbles when you debunk R. You can't vary R. I mean, within a minor, tiny tolerance, because they say it's an oblate spheroid. But beyond that, you can't vary R.
Right, but look, if you can blow up a death bubble for like a century, then maybe you could also blow up the radius in the model for a very long time, just gradually. You know, they blew up the supposed distance to the sun over centuries. Why wouldn't they be able to get away with blowing up the radius of the Earth? I know
Because
it doesn't
I'll
make
tell
any
you,
logical
there's a
sense.
reason. Because it
but they
throws
could
off.
do it.
I'll tell you, because it throws off everything. Your equator's suddenly in a different position. The transit of the sun throughout the season suddenly doesn't match up with anything spherical. So they're celestial observations, which have been back-engineered anyway. That's why it's spherical to begin with. But that presupposition is fixed with its R value to make all of the celestial observations work. So you can't just change R. Not least because it's supposed to be a physical sphere. You know, a rock, not growing and being pumped up and changing, but moreover, that rock is matching the celestial observations. So you can't diddle with R in that model.
I think they disagree with that, but also, like, what seasons? You think it's going to matter for seasons? Like, the season reasoning ever made sense on the original globe at any point?
No.
It's not going to matter a lot.
No. Where do you think they get their equator from, Arwin? What's giving them their equator? Central point of their sphere. Right? It's the midpoint between the seasons of the sun, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what it
Right.
used to be.
Well, what's going to happen if you change R? Will that still be the midpoint? Oh, suddenly it won't match anymore. Well, that's why you can't change R. One of a million different reasons, to be perfectly blunt.
I don't know. I think that they may just go ahead and just mold the shape a little bit more, you know, maybe turn it more pear-shaped than it's already supposed to be or whatever, and they'll figure a way out to get it done. They'll
As I
just
say-
bend the mind on another level and get it done.
Well, as I say, you can't change it within a minor tolerance because of their claim it's oblate. But beyond that, no, you're not going to make a massive change to drastically change the radius. It has to match with everything else. It can't be changed. There's no changing it, Arwin.
Really? So it has to match with the tides caused by the moon, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever at this point.
You pull
For
it,
example,
you're
know-
what he's
debunking
trying-
the
what he's
model.
trying to say.
You're criticising the model for its inconsistencies with the actual observed reality. It's irrelevant. Their R is fixed, not just in terms of its physical, supposed to be a rock size, but also in terms of what it matches up with. Their models and maps are based on R, not just the ground, the sky.
No, Arvin, what he's trying to say is that if the horizon distance at the 1 foot observer height is 10 miles, the radius jumps from 3959 to 264,000. And we know the horizon distance actually further than 10 miles. So we're going to be bigger than the sun at some point when we get an actual reading of where that horizon is. Of course, it's apparent and it's not there as you go towards it, it keeps moving. But using the oil platforms and just setting that 10-mile mark, it's 264,000 miles the radius. How can you be off by that much?
Well, it's just no longer geometric. It's not the geometric edge of a sphere. The horizon is not a sphere edge. That's what we've debunked with the Black Swan. It's by their own standards now. They're telling us how non-geometric it is. Well, that's game over. You know, with the fundies, you then have to point out why it's game over, but it doesn't alter the fact that once it stops being a geometric sphere edge, it's no longer a geometric sphere edge. That's the end of a geometric sphere model. It requires a geometric sphere edge. That's what their horizon is. Like I say, they deny it at ground level, but it's kind of irrelevant. Doesn't matter what the fundies say here. They require a geometric sphere edge. Them saying, no, we don't, just laugh at them.
Well said.
Last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container.
Again, Nathan?
No evidence.
I
We hear you,
think
yeah.
technically that the heliocentric model does not actually claim that, even though the way they divide the gas pressure and the lack of thereof in their modern conceptualization does seem a little out of whack. You know,
A little out of whack. Violates natural law.
the universe is the container. It's just that the way they divide the gradients in there doesn't make a lot of sense, really, at this point. No.
Okay.
I thought I proved the gas pressure without container.
You thought who proved that?
Check.
Sorry, what was your question?
Should we go through the experiment of gas without container again?
Should we go to the experiment without container again? There are no demonstrations of gas pressure without a container.
I think he knows which one
Which
he means.
experiment are you referring to?
I think
sir?
it's the one titled gas pressure
Okay.
without a container, where a container is used, because that's all of them.
Yeah, I want to hear him say it.
We talked about it. Gas
That's very
pressure
vague.
in your room,
Just
gas
tell us.
pressure in your room is higher at your feet than at your head.
And where did you get the gas pressure from in the first place?
Gravity.
Pardon?
Oh
You got the gas pressure from gravity.
Yeah.
Sorry, gravity's not a force. It's the bending of a conceptual medium. It's not giving rise to gas pressure. So my question
It
again,
does.
where are you getting the gas pressure from in the first instance?
Gravity.
Sorry, I just explained that that's a bending of a concept. It's not giving rise to gas pressure. You are not going to find a citation that says that gravity is giving rise to gas pressure. Wrong. That's not
I
correct.
proved it to you.
So you've shown it to me.
But by saying gravity?
I think there's wiki.
Hold on,
thing
Owen.
about that.
What do you mean you've proven it to us? What have you shown us that demonstrates gas pressure without a container?
Gas pressure gradient. I proved it to you. You can test it yourself.
Sorry, gas pressure gradient is a delta of gas pressure, and you cannot have gas pressure without a container. For the third time, where are you getting the gas pressure in the first place?
Gas pressure is always a delta.
Gas pressure is what, sorry?
Always a delta.
Gas pressure is always a delta. Sorry, a delta of what?
Delta of pressure.
What?
Can't hear him, Marwin, because you're talking.
Sorry.
A delta of what?
A delta of pressure.
Sorry, you're saying gas pressure is a delta of pressure because you've got both words gas and pressure in the same description. What's pressure?
Yes.
Well, okay, fine, it's a delta of pressure. What's pressure? The force exerted on the walls of a container?
Force.
Exerted on the walls of a container?
On anything.
A
Container.
container?
Not container.
Well, not anything, a
Force.
container. Something to contain the gas. You're still not answering or addressing the original question, which would be where are you getting gas pressure from in the first instance, given that your appeal to gravity dictates that you are a heliocentrist, and therefore you believe the sky is a vacuum? We'd never develop gas pressure if that was the case. So where are you getting the gas pressure from, given that you believe the sky is a available volume for that gas to fill? Where are we getting gas pressure from in the first place?
From gravity.
Gravity isn't an antecedent for pressure. A container is.
Pressure does not need it.
Pressure doesn't what?
Do your feet press on the
Are my feet gas? Sorry, this is a false equivalence. We're talking about gas, not my feet. They're solid.
No, it's not a fault equivalence.
It's not gas. My feet aren't gas. What they do when they press isn't what gas does when it presses. It expands in all directions.
Please, let's hear the definition.
Oh, my bad.
Let's hear the definition.
Right, where are you getting the gas pressure from in the first place? We all know what gas pressure is. Where are you getting it from, given that the sky's a vacuum? 5th time I've asked.
I don't think he can define gas pressure. That's what the problem is.
I've defined it.
Yeah, I don't think he's
You
following.
don't define
He
anything.
just keeps saying gravity.
Yeah, gravity's not a force. It's got sod all to do with gas pressure. He's just wrong. We've told him that. We've explained what gravity is, therefore isn't a necessary antecedent for gas pressure, unlike a container. And he's got a sky vacuum belief. I want to know where he's getting the pressure to describe this delta of gas pressure, which is the gradient he started off explaining. Well, okay, yeah, we might have a gas pressure gradient in certain circumstances. That's fascinating. Where do we get the gas pressure from in the first place, given that you believe the sky is an available volume for that gas to fill? We wouldn't have gas pressure in that case.
Gravity.
You keep
Force
babbling
of
gravity. Gravity's not a force. So what's it got to do with gas pressure? That's the force a gas exerts on the walls of its container. It's not all to do with gravity. It's not developing any containment, which is what you require to have gas pressure. Gravity is not a rebuttal. Hello?
Nathan, can I have the definition for pressure?
The force exerted on the walls of a container. Are you deaf?
Pressure? I didn't ask gas pressure.
We're
Pressure.
talking about
What
gas
is
pressure.
this?
We're talking about
I
gas, dude.
realise you need to make a little false equivalence here, don't you? You need to equivocate something that's got weight, like my feet. Well, my feet don't expand in all directions to fill an available volume. Gas does. We're breathing gas. Now, gas fills an available volume, and space, your sky vacuum, is, by definition, an available volume for the gas to fill. Now, given you're asking me about a delta of gas pressure, I want to know how the hell we've got any gas, given that you think this black area on screen for my audience is a vacuum, and these clouds here aren't expanding into this vacuum. Well, that's a violation of several natural laws.
Name one.
Boyle's law.
Which
Are we done here? Or are you just going to keep repeating gravity, which is not a force and will not contain gas?
obviously it does. What is
Show
the
me.
definition
Oh, really?
for
Show
pressure?
me. No worries.
Where's the
No
key in the
worries.
formula?
No worries. Demonstration, please, of gas pressure being maintained without a container by way of gravity beyond your fundamentalist religious assertion that the sky is a vacuum. Please demonstrate gas pressure without a container by way of gravity. Go.
Pressure gradient.
That's not gas pressure without a container by way of gravity. That's a delta of gas pressure. First containment, then gas pressure gradient. So an appeal to a gradient doesn't address the requirement for a container, and your fundy belief that the sky is a vacuum. So we've got a vacuum, hugely powerful 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum of space, and gas pressure without containment. Now, that's not real. That's just your religious belief. There's no proof of it, and your fundy assertion of gravity will not maintain gas pressure without a container.
Is this a lecture or a debate?
Well, what have you got beyond gravity, which I've taken to pieces by way of its conceptual nature? Not doing anything in reality, it's just a concept. And when I point out this, you talk. Debate or me taking a strip off you? Yeah, it's me taking a strip off you, that's right. You haven't got very much in the way of debate because your only assertion is gravity. Something you've got off the telly. Something that isn't real, it's conceptual. Not real. Meanwhile, we're asking about gas pressure. I want to know why this dude in the movie Gravity, portraying an astronaut, has got a spacesuit on and needs containment to keep his gas pressure on, yet the giant ball at massive pressure below him doesn't. It's a nonsense. It's a violation of natural law. And all you've got to assert is bending concepts as a rebuttal. So yeah, I'm going to take a strip off you. You've got nothing.
I got pressure gradient. Where is the
That's
container?
a delta. A delta of gas pressure. How can you have gas pressure without a container? How can you have a gas pressure gradient without a container? Show me a gas pressure gradient without a container by way of gravity. Go, show it me.
Open air, outside. Where is the container?
Where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first place, being that I go outside and see blue sky, and in your religion that's claimed to be a space the gas can fill? 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. When I go outside, that's what your religion claims the sky is. So how am I breathing any gas? If the sky is a vacuum, clearly it's not a vacuum, or I wouldn't be breathing. So going outside absolutely affirms my argument, because in your worldview, the sky is a vacuum.
Where is the container?
Where's what container? Your claim is the sky is a vacuum. I haven't got a clue what the sky is. I know we've got gas pressure, and I know by way of natural law that requires containment. The necessary antecedent for gas pressure is a container. So I, by natural and logical inference, can infer we are most definitely contained. Do I know what the sky is? No. And I'm not making any positive assertions in that regard. But most of the Western world, including you, are under the foolish misapprehension that the sky is a vacuum, an available volume for gas to fill.
Nathan, where is the pressure gradient from?
Where is the pressure gradient? How have we got gas pressure if the sky is a vacuum? Who cares about a gradient? You can't have a gradient either if the sky was a vacuum.
Of course you can.
No, the gas would fill the space. Entropy would increase. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. Boyle's law.
Show me, Nathan.
Boyle's law dictates the pressure based on the volume of the container. These are natural laws.
Show me, Nathan.
Why are you telling me to show you anything? You haven't answered my question. How do we have gas pressure here, given that your sky is a vacuum?
Show me the pressure is equalized in a container.
I didn't claim equalisation.
You sound like a
So that's a
troll.
straw man. One more logical fallacy, I'm going to have to kick you out.
No, that's not a straw man.
I did. What? Sorry,
I tell
did I
you pressure
use the
gradient,
word
you say
equalised?
no.
Sorry, when did I use the word equalised? Did I say we live in equal pressure?
Yes, you said something about...
No, I didn't. That's a lie. Do you want to quote me? I'm going to kick you out if you now lie again. I did not say anything about us being at equal pressure.
What caused the pressure?
Why are you now asking me a question after lying about me? You just claimed I said it. Something like, I'm going to remove you if you don't quote me, because you've just said I said something that implied an equal pressure everywhere. Absolutely ludicrous. I've never made such a claim. Are you going to quote me or am I going to kick you out? Is it resort to lie when you're losing? Make up quotes I haven't used? No, I haven't said that, mate. You just lied about me because you're losing badly with your sky vacuum belief.
Hold on. I look for it in the...
Look for it? You've just said I said it. What do you mean look for it? You should know it. So you're just making shit up. Why am I hearing nothing? Why aren't you rattling off the quote you just rattled off and claimed I used? Something about everything being equal pressure. Why have you not got this to hand? You've just claimed I said it. Hello? So, do I need to make something up about you and then go silent for a prolonged period and say I'm going to look for it? You've just said I said something, mate. Are you useless to us now? What the hell is going on? We're in a land where people will just make something up to make a straw man argument work. So based on his decision that I've decided that we have equal pressure everywhere, despite him not having a quote from that, what, we're going to just move on with him total silence after he declared that complete crap with no quote?
Nathan, can I ask him a question about?
Yeah, I'm done with him.
Nah,
What are the different things that can affect gas pressure? What are the different factors?
Well, how much is producing it? How high you are? How far away you are from the source it's being produced at?
Temperature is also another one, right?
Sure.
how about relative density? It's gonna have an influence.
Size of the container.
No, that's what we're talking about, the relative density.
Right. But you could even argue that that little g, or it would be an effect, that it has an influence on the way matter is distributed within the realm. It's just that if you are gonna use that to try to assert that there's supposedly an outer space vacuum out there, that's when none of it starts to work anymore. That's really the problem.
Well, the reason I asked that question is none of those descriptions have gravity in it. None of them, not one. That all those factors can account for gas pressure, some level, but none of it has anything to do with gravity.
Guy was
Did
a
the guy
mindless
disappear?
robot.
Did he
Yeah,
disappear?
it disappeared.
Where
His
is-
arguments had nothing.
He just ran out
No,
of
sorry, I
argument.
didn't disappear. I can't find it in this.
What, the quote that you made up about me? I've never said there's
Wow.
equal pressure
Yes,
everywhere.
the quote.
I've never said
You'll
there's
see
equal
after.
pressure everywhere. That's just because you wanted to attack a straw man. So you made up a lie about a quote I had so that you could attack a straw man about it being equal pressure everywhere. Well, no, that's just a straw man you decided to make up a quote about.
Okay, I made a mistake. Where is
Okey-dokey.
the pressure gradient coming from?
Where's the gas pressure gradient coming from? Well, from having a necessary antecedent of containment.
No, why there is a
Do
gradient?
you mean no? Yeah. First containment, then gas pressure gradient. You can't have a gas pressure gradient without a container. You haven't shown us gas pressure gradients without containment. You've not shown us anything. However, you're fighting against natural law. So, gonna do really well when describing, what, a violation of natural law? The sky vacuum? Yeah, that violates natural law. We've got, as flat earthers, natural law on our side. You've got gravity, pseudo-Ramonian force space, the bending of a conceptual medium dreamt up by a man named Einstein. That's what you've got. The words of some guy. We've got natural law. You've got some dude's words. That's what you've got, mate. Okay? Now, you might not like me telling you that your religion's based on the words of some dude with his tongue out and some fuzzy hair. Yeah, you may not like that. But we've got natural law here. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. Ergo,
Says
the
who?
sky... Shut the fuck up. Interrupting me, you little prick. Make up quotes about me, prick. Now I'm going to tell you, your lie of a sky vacuum is just a religious belief. And your only rebuttal is some words from some dude who made up some stuff about bending concepts. That's your only rebuttal. We've got natural law. You've got essentially nothing.
Gravity
Nathan, you
is
can-
natural law.
You could share my screen. I've got a differential pressure in the contained system on screen.
It's also been demonstrated by Zachary Sabala. Just heated a very long container and had two valves in it. One showed a different pressure to the other because it was very cold at one end and very hot at the other. It was really, well, I say really easy, relatively straightforward to do. You can absolutely have a gas pressure gradient in a container.
Well, like, how would this guy on the screen?
can.
How would he
What
have
is
this
the cause?
flame? Hang on, I'm talking. How would he have this flame showing differential pressure without the tube? Please explain.
He needs a container. It's a necessary antecedent. This guy wants us to now argue about how we have a gas pressure gradient. when our question is how can you have a gas pressure without a container? But he wants us to argue about how we have achieved gas pressure gradients now, like it's relevant to the sky vacuum and outer space not being real, because you can't have that gas pressure we breathe without a container. But he wants to argue about gradients, like they all do. So long as he can get us arguing about gradients, he doesn't have to justify how we have gas pressure when his belief is that the sky is a vacuum. There'll be a long pause, maybe he'll talk through it, but it violates natural law to have a sky vacuum. If the gas we breathe was not contained, it would fill the available volume it has to fill. And the sky vacuum is an immense volume available for the gas to fill. And fill it would, dictated by entropy, a natural law.
I'd also like to ask him, what is the available microstates of the sky? What is that, please? Can you tell me?
A lot. Do you know what a microstate is? Just take that as a no, Paul.
Okay, we're done, I think.
Yeah, we were done when he used the pseudoscientists to negate natural law. That's when we were done.
Fun though.
They're desperate.
It
Maybe
does
he's
rhyme.
new to this. Like he doesn't realize that the gradient's not like an actual argument or rebuttal against our question. I mean, I know most of them don't realize it, but I don't know. He seems to be very new at this. Like he's just throwing it out there. Great, gravity, gradient, gravity, gradient. It's like can't prove gravity, and yeah, gradient. That's nice. We're asking you how we have a gradient in the first place. Might want to address that.
Wasted an hour.
Yes, how do we have a gradient? I never had an answer for this.
Yeah, because we've got containment. Yeah, because you'd require a containment. I did explain it.
Show
You did
me.
get an
Show
answer.
me
Now you're talking
containment.
through me while I give you the same answer again. You did get an answer. First, I'll speak slower. First, you have a container. Then you can achieve gas pressure, the thing we're asking about. Then you can have a gas pressure gradient. On screen for my audience, a demonstration from Paul of a gas pressure gradient. Surprisingly, utilising a container. I also detailed a gas pressure gradient being achieved by Zachary Sabala, otherwise known as Good Times for All, GUDTIMS number 4 ALL, where he creates a gas pressure gradient, surprise, surprise, in a container. We've also asked you, given that you've asked us how we have gas pressure gradients, we've incorporated your question into our question and said, how can you have a gas pressure gradient without a container? If you want to talk about gas pressure gradients, a delta of our question, then we're going to ask you the same question in response. How can you have a gas pressure gradient without a container? The answer is you cannot.
Says who?
I've got the video.
Says
I've got the video
natural
on
law,
screen.
says the second law of thermodynamics, says Boyle's law. As explained to you, you just don't listen. And then you claim we haven't told you. Then we give an explanation of it. Then we ask you about microstates. Long, stony silence when detailing the second law of thermodynamics to you. You haven't got a vaguest idea what the second law of thermodynamics even is. So why are you even talking to us? You're dumb.
What is it? I'm dumb.
Don't
You know who
ask me
also-
to give
you
you
know
a...
who also
I
said
haven't
it,
sat through about 20 hours of MIT lectures on the second law of thermodynamics to detail it to a dipshit like you. I'm not interested. Your sky is a vacuum, a violation of this very well defined, very well established, very well taught natural law. Now, the fact that you don't know what this natural law is and you believe the babblings of an insane man with his tongue out who talks about concepts as a defence doesn't mean that I've got to now educate you on what this natural law is. No, it violates your fundamentalist sky vacuum belief though, mate. Maybe you need to go away and spend a bit of time with the boring MIT lecturers telling you about the second law of thermodynamics. Be my guest. I'm not going to educate you. I think you're a total wanker. I've got no time for you. You're a moron who thinks the sky is a vacuum, and you can only parrot and rebut me with gravity and gas pressure, gradient, delta of gas pressure, at nausea. So shut up.
Nathan, I showed you pressure gradient. You didn't.
Oh, did you? You showed it me by going outside, and I pointed out that your sky's a vacuum. Mutter, mutter. Yet you said to go outside as a demonstration. I then pointed out that in your fundamentalist religious zealot worldview, where you think you're on a spinning ball flying through a vacuum, your sky is a vacuum, a vast space for the gas to fill. And fill it must. It's dictated by natural law. How many bloody times?
You didn't show a container.
What's this guy's
Oh,
name?
didn't I? I'm not making a claim about what the sky is. Me as an individual, have I made a claim about... Shut up! I am talking! Don't strawman me. I've not made a claim about what the sky is. However, you and the majority of the Western world are under the misapprehension that the sky is a vacuum. Me? I'm not making any claims and I don't need to. I can just take a giant steaming dump on the entire Western world's fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum. It's not. It violates natural law. No requirement from me whatsoever to tell you or anybody what the sky is in order to dismantle your religious belief.
We have gas pressure on the Earth.
Yeah, therefore we must have containment. You can't have gas pressure without a container. How many bloody times? You saying that, yeah, we've got gas pressure. What's your next appeal? Therefore the sky must be a vacuum. No, mate, that violates natural law. I've said it about 16 times.
No, I didn't say the sky must be a vacuum.
It's part of the Western world's religion. Now, you are part of that religion. Do I care that you as an individual may or may not agree with this Western world religion? No, mate. It's called heliocentrism. I don't care what you think. Your belief about what the sky is inconsequential, about as inconsequential as my belief about what the sky is. We're not challenging you, you pathetic little muppet. You think we care what your view is? No, mate, you're a pathetic nobody and we literally care not what you think about the sky. However, there is definitely a Western world religious worldview that it's a bloody vacuum. And you're part of that little worldview, aren't you, muppet?
We have gas pressure.
We have gas pressure, and the sky, therefore, in my worldview, is a vacuum, therefore must violate natural... Shut up, mate.
Container, I said. I didn't talk about...
Yeah, we need a container. Your sky's a vacuum. That's the end of this argument.
You need. I don't need.
I don't need anything. I've got gas pressure, and natural law dictates that you require containment. So my argument could very well be, I can walk outside and breathe gas pressure. Therefore, natural law dictates that there must be containment. That's a perfectly plausible argument. Your argument is go outside, therefore the sky is a vacuum. No, that violates the natural law I could use to make a claim about containment and the sky being said containment. I don't need to make that claim. I'm dismantling a religious worldview of a sky vacuum by pointing out that that worldview is violating natural law.
You make a claim. We need a container.
Yeah, it's natural law, not a claim I need to prove. Inviolable natural law, not a claim. If you think I'm claiming that we need gas pressure without a container, dipshit, show me it without. Go.
Yes. Here outside. Go.
That's your fundy religious worldview belief that the sky is a vacuum. That's not a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. That's your belief in a second law of thermodynamics violation. Not proof.
Tell me about this second law of thermodynamics.
Why? Why should I educate you, a complete wanker?
You're
I
just
don't
trolling,
need to
buddy.
educate your dumbass on the second law of thermodynamics. It is natural law, whether you are ignorant of it or not.
No, it's
Yeah, you're done here, mate. Go away and learn what the second law of thermodynamics is. Learn what a microstate is, maybe.
don't.
No, you're done, buddy. You're just trolling now.
Yeah, just shut up.
I'm not trolling. I'm asking
just
for the
need to
container.
shut up.
You make
just
a claim,
need to shut
you
up.
Need a container.
Why?
Some
When
law
anybody
I
asks
don't
me
know.
why I've got to mute these assholes, this is why. He's done. He's clearly been demolished. Now he can't shut up. It's not like you, the least informed person who's asking us for an education in the second law of thermodynamics, needs to babble on and hold the mic incessantly. You are done. Finished. Now just shut up.
Look, you
The
asked
problem
me
is
for
the
proof.
arguments
I
got
give
too
you
advanced for some of the new
Tell
guys.
me.
Now he won't shut up. One more time, and I feel perfectly justified in removing you from the conversation. I'll allow you, for the time being, to wait for a new conversation to develop between other people that aren't you, and maybe you'll have something to interject with. But I've told you about 5 times, this is done. You are done. You are finished. Shut up. How many more times? It's not a question I need an answer to. It's rhetorical. That means just close your mic, pop yourself on mute, wait for something that you might have something useful to say on. Ah, much better. It is nice, though, having natural law on your side when you argue these points. You know, pointing out their pseudoscience and then arguing from a position of absolute certitude, inviolable natural law. It works for me. I like being a flat earther when it comes to things like this.
Yeah.
A weird
Want to
position
talk
to be in.
about Lite?
Oh, was that
Oh
was
my
that the other
gosh.
dude? Was that you piping up again, dude?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Bro, I mean, are you serious, man? Like, do you have anything else besides we have a pressure gradient? Because we're asking you, yeah, gradient. How
I
do we
have
have that
pressure
in the first
gradient.
place?
You
Because
don't
we
have a
need gas
container.
pressure first. What?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You don't
Can
what?
we talk about the
You don't
Lite?
what?
What you think you're not going to dictate what conversation, which route this conversation takes? No, mate. You really aren't getting this, are you? Last chance. No, you're not going to start producing the show because you've been smashed. What? This is a common theme, right? Answer me this, guys in the panel. Have you noticed this? When someone gets absolutely obliterated, they then feel that it's their place to take on the production of the show and dictate which way the direction of the show should be going. It beggars belief, the arrogance of these idiots. You've just had your ass handed to you. You think you should decide what conversation comes up next? No, mate, you should just be shutting up. Shout out to Rob L. Nathan, this guy is not able to have an independent thought. I don't know, he doesn't recognise when he's getting smashed, that's for sure. Thank you for the super chat, Rob L. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a weird one because the general Western world feels very safe in their assertions that the Earth's a sphere, and even safer in their assertions of their pseudoscience, gravity, and things of that nature. Well, when it comes to getting down to the nitty-gritty of being the ridiculed flat earther, you sat here in ridicule, and you've got natural law on your side. It's a weird position to be in, you've got to admit.
I mean, can I ask the guy, like, are you new to this argument, or, I mean, what is your understanding? Because I don't understand how you're arguing for a pressure gradient, but you're not even understanding what entropy would dictate in your model. I
What
mean,
would entropy dictate? Tell me.
Hold on,
yeah,
we've got
second
a
law of
new guest.
thermodynamics.
Just 1 second, we've got Rumpus. I didn't see you there, Rumpus. Hello.
Hello, Nathan. I was just wondering whether you thought it was a natural law that
here
high
we
gas
go.
pressure went to low gas pressure.
That's entropy.
Can't
You're
hear.
describing an entropy increase.
Am I too quiet?
You're describing an entropy increase.
Right, so let's go there, try that again. Do you believe that it's a natural law for high pressure to go to lower pressure?
You've just described... I'm going mad. Just answered this. You've just described an entropy...
I asked the question.
Now he's talking through me, so he's got to be removed. So I've described it to him. He's ignored me completely. I've tried to repeat it, and he's talked through the repetition because he doesn't want to hear the actual answer. He's just described an entropy increase. That's what he's just described. What, you think you got some gotcha there, do you, Rumpus? I'll take you off mute and see what you think you might have had there. Let's see how we get on.
Is it a natural law that high gas pressure goes to low gas pressure?
That would be an entropy increase. You're describing part of the entropy law, specifically an increase in entropy.
So the answer is yes, it is a natural law then for high gas pressure to go to lower gas pressure.
It's part... Sorry, it's just misrepresented what I've said. Did I say that was a natural law, or did I describe part of a natural law, specifically an entropy increase? The entropy law speaks to this specifically as being an entropy increase. Is that 4 times I've said that, panel? Is that 4 times?
That's 4 times. But Nathan, why are you even going there? He doesn't believe that the second law applies to the earth to begin with. So why is he having this conversation with us?
Good question, Paul. Maybe you'd like to ask him that. Ask him.
Exactly.
Okay, then, is it part of natural law then that high gas...
Does it apply to the
The
Earth?
second
This
law
is
of thermodynamics apply to the Earth.
Let's try it again. Is it part of something?
I've asked you a question, right? You've been asked by 2 other people. I've answered you. You've not acknowledged my answer. You've talked through my answer. I've repeated my answer 4 times. Now we're damn well going to ask you something, you moron. You think this law of nature doesn't apply to the Earth, don't you, moron?
Is it part of natural
Now
law?
you're ignoring our questions. It seems I've answered his question 4 times. And the unbelievable prick wants to only ask us things. So are you a coward, Rumpus? Can't you be answering questions? Is it only asking them? Do you believe that I'm now being talked to... Well, I'll repeat the question. He doesn't want to answer because he's scared of it.
I'm more than happy
Do you... Well, then shut up. I've got to put him on mute to ask the question. Let's see if he ignores it. That's 2 attempts. Paul, do you want to ask the question again? Or chocolate?
Yeah, does the second law of thermodynamics apply to the Earth, Rumpus?
I'll answer that in just a couple of seconds because I haven't had my question answered.
Yeah, you can fuck right off. Bye-bye. You're no longer part of the conversation. I answered your question 4 times. You can't answer it because we know. We've already got many quotes from you saying the second law, a natural law, of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. And I loosely translate that as the second law of thermodynamics violated in the Earth model doesn't apply to the Earth model because it's violated in it. That's what he actually means. He can't answer, does it apply? Because it doesn't apply to his model. It can't apply to his model because his model violates it. Simple.
Is that what you meant, Rumpus?
I just removed him.
Dynamics doesn't
I've
apply
removed
to your
him.
model.
I've removed him. He's not prepared to answer our questions. He's only prepared to ask them. And when he gets an answer, ignore the answer, have it repeated 4 times, and then declare he hasn't had an answer to the question. Because he hasn't had the gotcha that he wanted? Well, no, afraid not. I've got a good understanding of the second law of thermodynamics. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be educating anybody in it, especially if they're a moron. But it doesn't mean that Rumpus is going to get a gotcha over me with it. This law of nature applies, and he thinks it doesn't. Simple. Got Zanuck. Hey, Zanuck.
Oh, wow. We're just going through the whole rogues today.
I know, he's gone. He's legged it. I know, there he is. Hey, Zanuck. Long time.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
What's up, Zanuck?
What's up, guys? You guys are just beating up on everybody this
Sonic.
morning. You guys are on a rampage.
Don't rumpus him. Say that again, Sonic. Hopefully you won't get
You
interrupted.
guys are on a rampage this morning. You're beating up on everybody.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
You guys wake up on the wrong side of the bed or something?
Not at all.
Maybe
I'm in
you
a very
can do
good
better.
mood. I'm very happy, actually. Far from it.
I mean, it's Monday morning. I have my coffee. You know, that's what we do. We at work.
Zanuck, are you gonna offset natural law too?
There's no ever an offset of natural law. Natural law is always there. It's always present. It's always in action.
Glad you agree. Your friend Rumpus thinks the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth.
Do you remember what he said when he actually mentioned that? 'Cause I've heard that a few times from the group. I wasn't there when he said it, but did he actually say that the second law doesn't apply to the Earth?
I'll quote him.
And Ballbusters, so you can play it for him.
Sure. Good timing.
Yeah, play the clip.
Second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
There you go.
I don't know. I'm just devil's advocate. Could it have just been a snippet of what he said in the middle of a sentence, or when he was intending to say something a little more than that?
No, he said it multiple times.
Okay.
What, you need context?
Well, that's important in science, isn't it?
Yeah, he was talking about...
It's important in science. You don't even know what science is, you clown.
Was he doing science? My bad. Jeez, I had no idea.
What's the attack? I say 2 words and then suddenly I'm attacked for not knowing science. What don't I know?
Second law of thermodynamics has nothing to do with science. Can you show the second law or the second theory of thermodynamics?
The second theory of the second what?
Yeah,
I mean, the second law of
natural laws don't have anything to do
about energy flow
with science.
It's how it's science.
No, how it's
natural
not
laws do not have anything. Shut up.
That was me. Sorry.
Natural laws have nothing to do with science. They don't enter the scientific method, bozo.
Really?
Yeah, really. Do you want to go through it?
Yeah, tell me how natural laws of science don't have anything to do with science.
They're descriptions. The scientific method has to do with explanations of cause and effect. Can you cause and effect entropy for us?
He's going to get to answer that in the after show, because I'm going to do a quick shout out to Leapin4J. He's sent me 2 super chats. The first saying, "Welcome, Rumpus," and "Goodbye, lol." And he also says, "You missed my first super chat." Laughy face. Thank you very much indeed, Leapin4J. Really appreciate your support. And of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. A massive thank you to you on the live audience for smashing the super chat, hopefully liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to stay tuned. If you are watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
The second law doesn't apply to science. So let me understand something. So when we can actually explain how energy moves from high concentrations to
shut up. Entropy. We're into the scientific method right now. You were going to scientifically validate the second law of thermodynamics. Nathan, you got me up?
Yep.
Natural phenomena observed, please.
Heat goes from high to low. Heat moves from high to low.
We're getting it. Sorry, it's just getting typed down.
Hold on 1 second.
That's not what he said.
Same thing.
Are you okay with heat goes from concentrated to dispersed?
Well, we do it now. Do we want to talk? No, I'm actually. You asked me the question. We're not talking about Clausian versus Boltzmann. We're talking about high energy moving to low energy states. heat
Fine.
from
flow.
concentrated to
Direction-
dispersed.
direction of
That's what
heat
he
flow,
said.
high to low.
I'm not, that's it. That's what he said.
Fine. He's just said that. That is fine. He's clarified that now. Good. Great.
Good. Just say yes or no. It was a closed-ended freaking. Do you know what a closed-ended question is?
I do.
Yeah, it's a yes or a no. Right.
Well, I can't
Heat
see what you put, but I
concentrated to
imagine.
dispersed. Oh my God. Your dependent variable is heat from concentrated to dispersed. What's the hypothesis?
I didn't say heat from concentrated to dispersed. I didn't say it at all.
Oh my God.
I knew it. I knew it. Didn't I predicted this.
You're confusing
I'll
Boltzmann
change it.
with
No problem.
Gaussian.
No
Stay
problem.
focused.
Just one sec, Sonic.
Heat.
Just we're gonna get you verbatim.
Say it one more time. I'm going to write it down. Heat from high to low. Is that what you said?
Direction of heat flow, high to low.
Hypothesis.
Pardon me?
Hold on a second. Let me just put it together. Make it real easy. What? We need your independent variable. What causes heat to go from high to low heat? Independent variable, please.
Molecules having collisions. Momentum transfer.
Molecules. What?
Momentum transfer.
That even. Momentum transfer causes molecules. Then it doesn't even make grammatical
It doesn't make sense to you?
Molecules momentum
Molecule-
transfer causes heat from high to low.
I said molecule collisions. Momentum transfer.
Oh my God.
I know it's over your head a little bit, but you can go with it.
No
Over
need.
my
No
head.
need. No need.
Under my feet. You're a
both.
friggin'
Stop.
bozo.
Stop.
Molecule
Just keep the ad
collisions. Do you
homs.
know that molecule collisions
Sorry.
and gas are
Sorry about
elastic collisions? There's no energy loss total.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear anything you said right there. Say it again.
Molecules, like in a gas, like in heat, kinetic energy, when molecules hit each other, they're called elastic
Yes, they're elastic collisions and they transfer energy. Yes,
Yeah, but there's no overall energy loss.
correct.
Yeah, so
That's what
your
elastic-
molecule collision momentum transfer doesn't have anything to do with what you're talking about. You're just describing what's happening, not causes.
It is the cause,
It's not a
because when you
cause.
have energy in, can I finish? If you have momentum in a molecule and it hits another
I just
molecule that's
told
not
you.
moving,
No,
the
you
momentum
can't
is transferred to that. Hello.
You can't get out of this. Molecular
I am.
collisions are elastic collisions. There is no net gain or loss of energy for the system.
I didn't say there was.
You're describing
Remember, it's
this,
heat flow.
not the cause
flow-
of it.
The heat flow of the system stays the same. It's just being transferred from
There you
one
go.
chamber.
There's your
or
answer.
from one,
Not a cause then. Thank you.
that's why heat moves. That's the second law. That's what it talks about. How
It's not the cause
Heat
of it.
flow.
You're describing it.
heat flows from high to low.
Are you hearing what? Hold on, John. Sorry. Are you
Nothing.
hearing what he's saying to you? Are you listening? Because it just sounds like you chanting over the top of what he's saying and ignoring it. What's his reply, Zanik? What did he say?
He said that. He said something about heat. That you can't have heat flow because there's no change in energy. And that defies the law. Second law.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said you haven't established the cause. You're just giving a description over and over again, but you're not giving us the cause of it.
The cause is the molecules making contact. So you can't have something that's cold move to hot because there's no molecule, or the molecules aren't moving. The things that are moving are making other things move. That's what transfers the heat. That's the cause. The
You're not
presumed
saying
cause
why that's
is
happening.
molecular.
You're not giving a cause. You're just describing what's happening.
No,
You're
I
not saying
told you the
why
cause. The
it's
cause
happening.
is the molecules making contact. That causes heat transfer.
Why?
It doesn't cause heat transfer. Again, you just obviously chanted through him
It
saying
doesn't?
that.
How does it not cause heat transfer? How when a high-speed
You're not,
molecule hits
you're
a
just
low-speed
chanting through
molecule-
everybody, Zanik. Zanik. Elastic collisions. No heat loss or gain. So you are wrong.
Wrong about
It's
what?
a net. It's a net thing. He's just the bottom
I didn't
line,
say there's a
just-
net gain. The
Shut
system
up!
doesn't change.
He doesn't
its
want to.
energy
He
level.
just wants to repeat the same thing 5 times through anything anybody's got to say in response.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
because
that
I
means
made
shut
it very
up.
clear.
That means shut up, Zanik. You asked when you got here why everyone's so angry. No, nobody's angry. But we're surrounded by dicks that want to repeat the same thing 5 times through any response to it, or completely ignore any questions, or make loads of background noise like you're doing now. All really irritating. So people like you... Yeah, now you're talking through us. Now you're doing exactly what I'm saying is irritating. Yeah. I'm now trying to explain to somebody deeply irritating that they're being irritating with their actions. Hopefully, the end of it will be an establishment with that irritating person that they need to stop being irritating, maybe shut up and listen for a little while. It's not going to be achieved. What you'll actually do is talk through me trying to explain just how irritating people like you are. Now, we're not annoyed. We're not generally annoyed people. You are the irritating person. Rumpus, he's irritating. Now, I'm sure that's intentional. You're trying to get our goat. I know. It's not going to be successful because we've got the winning argument at the end of all this nonsense. All you've got, Zanik, is the nonsense. That's all you've got.
I thought I understand the question perfectly. I thought I described my point well, so let's go from there.
So what that means is I'm actually asking for Zanik's self-reflection on how fucking well he did. No, Zanik, we don't need your introspection about how well you did. I don't care. We don't need your internal monologue now. It's not the Zanik show. Now, we appreciate that you've completely ignored the fact that there isn't going to be a cause established in any of these endless descriptions that are being repeated, but you don't want to accept that. There is no established cause for it. It's a law of nature, not science. Natural law. Very different. No established cause. You will never give us the cause of entropy. You're not going to do that, Zanik. I'm just going to draw close to it by saying that statement of fact. You will never give me the cause of entropy.
The entropy is a measurement, not a cause. Entropy is a measure of what
Then
happens.
why did you say it was
It's a
science?
result of the process. It's not a
When
cause
did
of
it
anything.
become a
The second
science
law
fiction
has-
novel?
You just answered the question yourself, sir. You said entropy's not a cause. Then why are you trying to cause and affect it?
We're talking about the second law, not entropy.
What?
Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics. Oh my God.
Entropy is an aspect of the second law.
Entropy.
It's not the second law.
Would somebody look up the second law of thermodynamics?
The second law of thermodynamics is
Nothing that talks about heat flow. Direction of heat flow.
It's this obfuscation time. Troubling news coming his way that needs obfuscating. Yep, definitely
Also
troubling
talks
news.
about
Yep,
time.
definitely time to rumpus. Yep. What? Your invite
Talks
because you're not
about-
over. Yeah, definitely going to obfuscate
possible.
every word now being said, aren't you? You're not going to allow this. Shut up. So the second law of thermodynamics is the entropy law.
Correct. But
Did you just say correct? So when you say that
Really,
it's
Zanik?
describing an aspect of the second law of thermodynamics, and when Rumpus tells us they're not the same thing and that the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth, these are the thrashings of a dying religious fundy, basically. That's all they are.
entropy
found it.
is a measurement of what happens in a process.
You said that
I said
second law of thermodynamics weren't the entropy laws.
it is the entropy law, but it's an aspect of entropy. It is an aspect of second law.
Now it is.
No worries. You have quite close quarters with Rumpus.
When I say that,
I'm talking, Zanik.
Zanik,
Don't interrupt the middle of my sentence, please, my friend. I realise this is troubling. You have quite close quarters with Rumpus. I'd like you to let that complete fucking retard know that they are one and the same thing. Because Rumpus, and let's be perfectly plain about this, who is stupid, thinks they're different things. Now, I'm now glad that you appreciate that the second law of thermodynamics is the entropy law. And I would like you personally to educate Rumpus, who is stupid and thinks they're different things, this fact that entropy law is the second law of thermodynamics, and the second law of thermodynamics is the entropy law. They're one and the same thing. Can you do that for me?
The second law of thermodynamics is the entropy law.
Yeah, can you let Rumpus know? Because he's thick as shit. Thinks they're different. Thinks one doesn't apply to the Earth, the second law of thermodynamics, openly and boldly declared, because he's a complete retard, and he seems to be going around educating other retards. Now, this is an outrage. Why would this retard be telling people about how entropy works when he doesn't appreciate that it's not the same as the second law of thermodynamics? And I'm charging you personally, someone on his own side who does understand, to tell this complete retard where he's going wrong. Now, I am a flat earther, and I'm telling you, the globehead religious zealot, to educate his fellow religious zealot, that would be Rumpus, the retard, where he's going wrong. Call out your own, Zanik. One of your own is fundamentally wrong and telling people misinformation, disinformation, incorrect information based on his own stupidity and ignorance. And I'm charging you with correcting him. Can you tell him from me, Nathan Oakley, the flat earther, that he's a complete retard and does not understand what entropy is? He thinks it's somehow different to the second law of thermodynamics. He thinks that the second law of thermodynamics, which is the entropy law, doesn't apply to Earth. And I'm charging you with correcting him, Zanik. Do you understand what you've been charged with? Calling out your own?
I do. And I think...
Good! Because he's a complete retard. And I want the world to know that. Just how stupid Rumpus is. And how much he's poisoned all of your fellow retards with his retarded nonsense. He's stupid. And I want that on record. That you, Zanik, are going to make sure you educate him upon the charge of me, the flat earther, who knows better than Zanik and Rumpus. Let's get that clear.
Okay, so the second law of thermodynamics, specifically entropy, which is part of the second law.
Yeah, you're going to tell that.
It's the second law, not part.
It is the entropy law.
I'm sharing my screen with the Wikipedia version. And yeah, there's a lot involving in it, right? Because it's a very elaborate thing. But when you get into the introduction, there's this very clear statement here, namely that the process of it all is pretty much can be concisely put as entropy. So yes, we are absolutely
the process
correct.
is entropy. Entropy is the
official.
It's time for Zanik to interrupt you, because what you're doing is affirming that the second law of thermodynamics is the entropy law, Arwin. And they need to blur this line. So he's going to interrupt you, pointing out exactly what we've said to him overtly and charged him with pointing out to Rumpus, who's completely retarded and doesn't understand what you're explaining, Arwin. So he's going to interrupt that. Now, I'm telling you that, so it's overtly clear I'm not talking to him and he doesn't need to respond. He needs to leave you to point out how stupid all globe heads are, because they clearly think the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth, given that they all think the sky is a vacuum. But feel free to continue, Arwin, hopefully uninterrupted by a fundamentalist zealot.
Well, it's basically here. This is the introduction part of the page, because the page is pretty damn vast. It's probably like at least 20 pages. But the introduction is very clear. It starts to describe the basics and then basically says the explanation of such phenomena was given in terms of entropy. And that just basically opens up the entire approach of it all. And that is the reason why we use entropy when we're talking
What is
about these
entropy?
issues. So that is
Why don't you
it.
tell me what
And
entropy
yeah,
is
but
then?
if I may finish up, beside that, there's still a lot of other convoluted things in there, even like gravitational systems and all that. So, you know, it's not perfect, but the introduction is very blatantly clear. The
You're reading one page
explanation
of a
of
friggin'
such
law in
phenomena
the
was
physics
given
book
in
or on the
terms of
website.
entropy.
What is
I'm
entropy?
done.
Why don't you tell me what it
What
is
is
then?
entropy? How many times we got to answer that question?
I know what
It's
it
the second
is.
law of
You tell me what
hold
it
on.
is.
He's in the
It's
middle
second
of
law
doing it, but
thermodynamics. We must have given you these definitions greater than
I
30
know the
times.
definition.
Personally, I have given
I'm
them
into
to you over 30 times. I'm going to give it to you one last time. Okay. In classical thermodynamics, the dispersal of energy from localized to spread out at a given temperature. In molecular thermodynamics, it's the change in a system or surroundings or their total from which there are fewer accessible microstates to one for which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. Do you got it now?
That's two types of entropy, correct?
Classical and molecular. They're both entropy.
Correct. I've mentioned that many times.
No, you
Boltzmann
didn't.
or
I told
Clausian.
you
Yes,
that.
we
You're a
understand.
friggin' clown. You're a clown show. You keep on repeating that entropy is energy change. That's all. It has to
No,
do
I
with
didn't,
energy.
I
It
didn't
has to
say
do with
that.
heat.
I said the
Keep
second
on
law
repeating it.
was
You
energy
keep on
direction.
repeating it.
The
Let
direction
me
should
ask
be
you this
close.
question. Can you have entropy change without energy or temperature change?
No.
No.
you're
Did
wrong.
everyone hear that?
He's wrong.
Wrong.
You don't understand what entropy is. The demonstration that we have on this show, it's very specifically stated by the guy demonstrating entropy that the only change is a change in entropy when a gas fills a space.
Nathan, share my screen, please. We'll put an end to Xanac forever and ever. And I want my
What is
2
that?
friggin' G's too, you clown. Now, Professor George Porter, Nobel laureate. Now, let us look at some examples of spontaneous changes and see how they are accounted for in terms of the second law of thermodynamics. We'll take the simplest first and look at the changes where only the entropy changes. Now, one, perhaps the simplest of all these, is the expansion of a gas into a vacuum. I have in one of these bulbs some bromine, and in the other I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now, that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that we can have is a change in entropy. In this case, the expansion into a vacuum. Nothing else is involved. There's no energy change. There's no temperature change. There's no change except entropy. Danik, turn out the lights. The party's over.
We're talking about Earth. You mentioned
Good
Earth.
night, clown show.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. Hold on.
You
Hold
can't
on.
get out.
Hold
of
on.
it.
Hold on, QE. Here it comes. Go ahead, Zanuck. Tell us about Earth.
We're talking about Earth. Is that an isolated system? That's where basically Rumpus was coming from. If you look at the Earth as an isolated system, then yes, it would apply in that direction. But it doesn't, because it's part of a much bigger system, the universe. Yes. Well, entropy can go down. Entropy can go down in one area.
Hold
as
on.
long as it
Hold
goes up
on. Hold on.
energy
You're getting
and
audio
temperature,
chaos.
clown.
Quantum eraser.
What?
Okay, you're talking through him. I've got to stop you as well.
Talking through him. He's fucking red herring fallacy in the question.
All right, he is.
No.
Yes, he is, but I want to hear him say it, though. He is. I know. I just want to hear him say it. He's saying isolated system.
In an isolated system, yes, there will be no change in entropy. I mean, no change in heat or energy, but there will be a change of entropy in that system, and it will go up through any process.
Sorry.
Okay.
Go on,
Okay. I asked him, Can you have entropy change without energy or temperature change? What did he say? No. We didn't
No.
talk about
Okay.
isolated
Are we talking
systems
about
that
isolated
don't
systems?
exist in nature.
Are you
any
talking about an
fucking way.
isolated system or a closed system?
You fucking
I
shut
didn't know what
up.
system you're talking about.
Rumpusing you when you point out how wrong he is. You were wrong. The system
Yeah,
that was.
Zanuck, you
Hold
played
on,
yourself on that one.
hold on. Just let me explain to Zanuck where he's wrong. You've just had it read out, and that's been played. I don't know if someone can dig. Oh, Chocolate's done it for me. Perfect. So this was read out to you.
And in the other, I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy. In this case, the expansion into a vacuum, nothing else is involved. There's no energy change, there's no temperature change, there's no change except entropy. So without the entropy
Turn out the
vacuum.
light.
And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy.
So Zanuck,
In this case,
just one question for Zanuck.
Yeah.
Given that he's
Yes.
The question's going to come before you answer it. Strangely enough, Zanuck. So, given that he had did he have an isolated system in that example?
Yes.
He did. No, you're wrong.
Yes.
Sorry, you think his canister was an isolated system? You don't know what isolated means.
Yes. In his example, yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. You're wrong.
Yes. Because if I had heat applied to that canister, there'd be a change of energy.
Yeah, that would make it a closed system then, wouldn't it?
Correct.
So not isolated then, you complete retard that doesn't understand the difference between these systems. It's unequivocally not isolated. You are incorrect, Zanuck. You are fundamentally retarded and do not understand these concepts of isolated systems which don't exist in nature. They do not exist. What he held was not an isolated system. You're just stupid. Don't talk through me when I'm telling you off, you unbelievable retard. What he was holding was not an isolated system, you complete clown. You're just stupid. You don't understand what an isolated system is. You described a closed system. So you're a retard. Rumpus is a retard. You're all retards. You don't understand what an isolated system is. You don't understand what a closed system is. You certainly don't understand what the second law of thermodynamics is. Otherwise, you'd understand the difference between these three systems, one of which is only used to describe this law of nature. It doesn't exist in nature. And you've just told us that this canister, this vacuum demonstration, is an isolated system, making you a fundamental retard.
Just because he was speaking about...
You are a retard. Do you hear me? Why are you ever talking on this subject, you complete idiot? Don't ever talk on the second law of thermodynamics ever again. You are a globe-believing religious zealot who does not understand this. Do not ever talk on it again. You are stupid. Do you hear me, Zanuck?
No.
Yes! I am tearing a strip off you based on your demonstration here today, declaration that a closed system's an isolated system, making you a moron. Never talk on this subject. That is an order, moron, I'm telling you.
Excuse me, can I say something?
No! I'm telling you never to talk on this subject ever again. At a fundamental level, you do not understand it. You've got no right whatsoever to talk on this subject because you are fundamentally incorrect in your assertions in its regard. You have no place talking on the second law of thermodynamics. You do not understand it. Now, I'm a flat earther, and I do understand the second law of thermodynamics. And I, the flat earther, am telling you that you have no place talking on this subject. Do you understand, you unbelievable moron?
If you put a heat lamp on that container...
Shut up! Don't talk on this subject! How dare you? You are representative of the rest of the retarded globeheads who occupy this corner of the internet. At a fundamental level, you're stupid, but you feel you've got the right to talk on this subject after being told, in no uncertain terms by me, that you've got no place talking on this subject, because you've demonstrated just how stupid you are. So don't immediately talk on this subject, you unbelievable retard. I'm telling you off. Me, the person who's not ignorant, is telling you, the ignorant one, where you're ignorant and why you shouldn't be talking on this subject. Do you understand, Mr. Closed system is an isolated system? You're stupid.
Wouldn't you, if you put a heat lamp on a flask, wouldn't that transfer heat into the flask? And wouldn't
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much.
Yeah, making it a closed system, not an isolated system. That's why I've told you off, you complete fool.
Paul gets it. Paul gets it.
Yeah, that would make it a closed system. You declared, because you're a retard, like all of you globehead retards, that it was an isolated system. Therefore, you do not understand this.
I understand it. I don't think you do, actually.
So now you're going to get removed from the conversation, because that's an ad hominem attack. I unequivocally understand this law of nature. You are a retard, Zanik.
If there's heat transfer, it is a closed system. Not
Correct,
an
Paul. That's correct.
Zanik,
Yeah, we know we're right, Zanik. We are on the winning side of this argument. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. The sky is definitely not a vacuum. It violates natural law. And all you've got to do is obfuscate and confuse and scramble what are well-established laws of nature. And while you're doing it, you're demonstrating your ignorance to my audience. You're demonstrating how the globe side of this argument definitely doesn't understand this law of nature, to the point where you will boldly, on a recording, declare that a closed system is an isolated system. So you've lost.
How does the sky vacuum?
Why are you asking me anything? The sky is not a vacuum. It violates this law of nature that you do not understand, Zanik. That's been made clear here today. You don't understand it, so you've got no place talking about it.
Yeah, we measure the fact that it is a vacuum, so how's that?
Sorry, you don't measure anything as being a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. The sky is definitely not a vacuum beyond the fundamentalist religious assertions of retards like you who don't understand natural law.
Yeah, it's a vacuum. We measure a gradient going to vacuum as we go higher. We measure that.
That's a violation of natural law. A reassertion of your fundamentalist religious belief is not going to get around the fact that we've just handed you your own arse and demonstrated just how little you understand about this natural law, Zanik. You think your fundamentalist religious assertion that the sky is a vacuum is somehow going to get you a win in this circumstance? No, mate. I understand that the last chance saloon is just to declare your fundy belief over the top of me indefinitely, and declare the win anyway. But it doesn't change that natural law violates your fundy belief in a sky vacuum, mate.
How does it violate the law?
You don't know what the law is. So like the other dick that came here earlier, I'm not going to disseminate my understanding of this law. We already know unequivocally that you do not understand it, yet you feel the need to try and educate others in that which you do not understand. Now, that which you do not understand is a natural law violated by your fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum.
Can I ask him a question, Nathan?
A reversible process.
No, because he won't shut up. He didn't listen to a word I just said. And he's not going to listen to you either. He wants to talk non-stop while his religion's getting obliterated.
Why does
right. If I open the line, he's talking non-stop, not listening to anybody anymore. Just into chanting.
Yep.
He'll proceed to teach people about the second law of thermodynamics. He doesn't even know it. The entropy law, or the law of entropy, is the second law of thermodynamics. He didn't know that. He doesn't know what entropy is. I had to define it for
I
30
do know what
times.
entropy is.
Then he said,
It's
then you can have. This is so stupid.
What did I say?
Double-speaks.
Go ahead, repeat that.
Everything
Then.
he says is double speak, right?
No.
Everything
Isolated
you say
system.
is
There
double
will be no
speak.
change.
Did you really say
There will be
that
no.
the glass tube that the George, I forgot his name, that
George
he had,
Porter.
yes, that he used, that was an isolated system, isn't it? You think
Yeah, he did.
Yes, it had to be an
that's what that
isolated
was?
system. That to be true.
Say that again?
How could you have entropy not change?
So he's going to ignore your question. Your question specifically, Chocolate, was did you just declare that that demonstration was done in an isolated system? The answer to that question is definitely yes, that's absolutely what he said. But rather than letting that come through while I'm summarising it now, he's talking.
Wow. I didn't hear that
Dad,
part.
let people finish.
The example that scientist or physicist produced was about an isolated system.
No, it was in a closed system. You are a retard.
Talking over me. What are you talking about?
Because you're wrong.
Why would
because
he talk about
because
an
I'll tell you
isolated
why
system?
I'm talking over you. I understand this and you do not. Therefore, I've got every right to be heard. You've got no right to be heard.
I don't think you do understand it, actually.
Oh, well, I don't care what you think in this regard. We've demonstrated unequivocally that you do not understand this. So your musings about what I know or don't know are irrelevant, Zanuck. We've demonstrated that you don't know this stuff unequivocally. So do you think I care what you think I think? No, mate. We know you don't know, and I've demonstrated that to an audience. Beyond that, all that's left to do is tell you to stop talking about this stuff because you don't understand it. Me, the flat earther, is telling you to stop talking about it from a position of superiority. You're ignorant, we are not.
I explained how heat flows.
And you were wrong. You're stupid, dumb. You think an isolated system's closed. So who cares what you've talked about? You've got no place talking about this. You just don't like that. You want to talk about it anyway. Like any clown, you want to keep clowning.
All right, then what's it? Why don't you tell me?
You think you've got the right to ask me on this subject any question whatsoever? No, moron.
I'm a moron.
Yes, that's correct. You are unbelievably
Yes,
stupid. At a fundamental level, you're talking on subjects you don't understand.
Right.
Zanuck.
Look, that system that was an example was an isolated system. You cannot have.
He's repeating it.
Calm down.
He's repeating it over the top of you, Chocolate, that it was an isolated system that he was demonstrating. He's just repeated it over the top of you.
Well, wait a minute, real quick.
So
All he
you
has to do
think
is
that was an
demonstrate-
isolated system, Zanuck?
Yes, that container was isolated.
You think that tube, that glass tube, was an isolated system?
We know it's not. So therefore, the entropy would.
So when QE earlier said that all he's got is double speak.
If he took that tube and threw it outside, you're saying in the sun, you're saying that no energy would get into that tube.
Chocolate, the energy. Oh my God.
Oh my
I'm
God,
asking
you're
you
right.
a question.
What's the question?
You said it was an isolated system, clown show.
It has to be. Yes, that example was implying an isolated system.
Implying an isolated system.
Wait. Can I say something? Hang on a second.
Wow.
He said implies a close. He's reading into intent that he knows what the professor was teaching. So either the professor would have to say that, or he's implying that he knows the mind of the
We
professor.
asked him directly, was the tube closed or isolated? He said it was an isolated system. He's a double speaker. He's a friggin' clown show.
Yeah, wow.
He didn't even know that the second
The
law of
instructor.
thermodynamics
I've had
is the
many.
entropy law.
See, I've actually
He didn't even
taken
know that.
classes on this subject. You
He
have
doesn't
not.
know this at
So
a
I can tell you
fundamental level.
unequivocally.
Now he's appealing to his
Fundamentally.
education. Now he's appealing. He's saying, I've had classes in this. I know.
All right, just for my clarification, you said he implied isolated system.
Because
Did he use an isolated system to example that?
He talked about it as if it was an isolated system.
What kind of
yes.
system was he using, Zanuck?
He used a glass container, which is a closed system, actually.
So it's a closed system.
No,
So
he,
it's closed.
he
Not an
used a
isolated
closed
system.
system to describe an isolated system. Because he
but
thought
but he's
people like
actually-
you could understand what he meant.
But we understood. We read
You
it out,
Zanuck
then we
has
played
made a
it.
claim.
We definitely understand. That's just an ad hominem attack, Zanuck. We definitely understand this stuff. But you declared that it was an isolated system, and then have gone on to divine his thoughts when we've got quotes from him. And we've played that exact quote back with his demonstration and asked you if it was isolated. You said yes. So it's pretty clear what's going on. You haven't got the vaguest idea about what you're talking about. That's why I've told you off. So you don't have to like it, but
Zanuck
we
has
are...
made- sorry.
Go on. Sorry, go on.
Me?
Sorry, I thought you were finished, Nathan.
Go on, Brian.
No, just
You said it.
Zanuck has
Paul,
made
you
a
said it
claim.
very succinctly. You said it very
Zanuck has
succinctly.
made a-
You
hang
said
on,
that
Zanuck,
the
hang on,
glass
Zanuck, you made a
container-
claim there. Hang on, Zanuck.
Can I
Zanuck,
finish a
you made
sentence?
claim,
Seriously.
Right, for the
I haven't been able
audience's
to finish
benefit,
sentences that have been on
you
the
made a
show,
claim
really.
Oh, he's not going
that
to shut up.
the sky has been measured to become a vacuum.
He won't listen to you, Brian.
Nathan,
If I close his
Zanuck
line
has
so
made-
that you can be heard... but hold on, Brian. I'm trying to
Thank
talk
you.
to you now. So if I close his line so that your question can be heard by the audience, he won't be listening to it because he's talking incessantly now so that he doesn't have to address or listen to any questions. That's just their tactic.
I know. But I'll say it for the audience's benefit anyway. That Zanuck made a claim a couple of minutes ago that the sky has been measured to become a vacuum. I think he should have to support that claim.
What?
Because that's an ongoing claim with the ball side, and none of them ever support it.
What? How do you measure?
He made a
the-
claim.
Yeah, he did make that
This is what he
claim,
said.
Brian.
He made that claim.
You got to let him
and
respond
he should
then.
have to support it.
Okay,
Isn't that
we've
just
heard.
like a
Hello?
psychotic
Hello?
side effect?
We just need him to respond then, if he wants to.
What? Can we stay on the subject? Can we stay on the subject we were talking about, which was the container that the physicist was speaking of? He had a glass container. He talked about it as if it was isolated, but we all know it is a closed system. So yes, if it's isolated, there'll be no change in energy or temperature, yet entropy goes up. But it wasn't. It was a glass container. We know that energy can move freely in and out of it. So that's why I said that. So let's move on.
Through it?
Guys, right, I'm going to have to try and keep control. Right, guys, you're not now listening to him.
Why do I need to add Hahnemann attack? You know,
I
come on,
don't need
Steve.
Zanuck. I don't need any help. Thank you very much. So, is he going to get a response now, or did everybody rumpus the shit out of him in the hangout?
Yeah,
I heard
we
that
stopped
Brian
him
was just
when he
talking to
said
everybody else.
we stopped him when he said that the professor was implying an isolated system. That we
Which
stopped
he
him
was.
So why was he demonstrating it with a closed system, Zanuck?
So we can instruct to the class about
after saying it was an
law of
isolated
entropy.
system.
It says as gases move from one chamber to another, there could be no change in energy or temperature in the system, the isolated system, but overall the entropy goes up.
system.
It's not an isolated system. That's why I've told you off.
It has
Keep
to be
saying
an
it,
isolated
'cause
system.
Zanuck, you've got a fundamental misunderstanding about how this all works, and you keep referring to it as an isolated system, even though in demonstration it's a closed system that he's opening. So you're wrong.
And can you give us the line
It
in which
has to
he
be an
spoke
isolated
about an
system.
isolated
If it's
system?
not
Can
isolated,
you quote
energy
that?
could change, right?
Sorry. All we seem to be doing is arguing about what systems are. So initially, your argument was that this doesn't apply to Earth because it only applies to isolated systems. But it seems we've debunked that claim that you've made, Zanuck, because this definitely doesn't only apply to isolated systems, this law of nature. It was just demonstrated with a closed system. So what we've actually done is debunk your initial claim, and then you've led us on this merry dance of arguing about systems indefinitely, when in reality you claimed that this second law of thermodynamics didn't apply to the Earth because it only applied to isolated systems, and what we did to debunk you was demonstrate it happening in a closed system, and ultimately demonstrating just how stupid you are and how little you understand about this law of nature. Now I realise and will tell my audience that while I've been saying this, you haven't been listening, you've been talking, in the vain hope that it won't reach you or the audience, and that ultimately you won't respond to the fact that we've debunked your claim that isolated systems are the only thing applicable when describing the second law of thermodynamics. We've debunked that shite that you came out with, Zanik.
And so have you, basically.
I didn't say that the second law doesn't apply to the Earth. I said in that test of the scientist or physicist that he was speaking of that glass container as if...
No. This is not about the container. Let's not try and obfuscate the point I've just made. We were talking about Earth, Zanik. And you said that the second law of thermodynamics, that's Rumpus's point. He's saying it doesn't apply to the Earth because it's describing an isolated system. Now, by demonstration and in reality, it's applicable to open and closed systems. And isolated systems in reality do not exist at all. So an excuse that the law of nature doesn't apply to the Earth because it only applies to an isolated system is debunked by demonstration when you show it applying to a closed or open system. So this law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics, definitely applies to the Earth. Do you understand? Now, given that it definitely applies to the Earth, the sky can't possibly be a vacuum. It violates this natural law, which applies to open and closed systems, not just isolated ones, Anik.
And how does it violate the second law?
Because if the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space. And for my audience's benefit, I'll now give them a demonstration of exactly that. Check it out.
These bulbs, some bromine, and in the other I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy. In this case, the expansion into a vacuum, nothing else is involved. There's no energy change, there's no temperature change, there's no change except entropy. So without the entropy...
So basically,
we know this. I mean,
yeah, Zanik, I'm going to make my point after this, not you make yours, shockingly. Yeah, basically, Zanik, what is demonstrated is gas filling an available volume. So there was a vacuum in one of the vials, a bit like what you think the sky is. And then he shows that the gas, given an availability to that space, fills it. And gas that we have and breathe here would fill a sky vacuum in exactly the same way, as per the law of nature he's describing, with his demonstration of gas filling space. And that's what the gas we have would do if the sky was a vacuum. This natural law, demonstrated by the guy with the closed system that you thought was isolated, yeah, that's what would happen. The gas would fill the space, as per the second law of thermodynamics, also known as the entropy law.
And that was literally demonstrated for you.
But, Chocolate, if the valve wasn't open, would the gas flow?
Sorry, what valve do we have given that your sky is a vacuum with absolutely no containment whatsoever? Not even a valve for the gas to flow through, just complete and total availability to a massive space that it can fill. So does your sky have a valve that we can close and stop the gas from filling that space?
I hear you talking. Can I answer? That's a great question.
Yeah.
The answer is the valve acts as a force, right?
What valve? Does your sky have a valve?
God, I can't even finish a sentence. Seriously.
As a force?
Is this what your audience wants? An echo chamber?
Yeah.
You want to hear
everybody, Zanik.
So valve,
you think you want to
F
talk?
equals
Yeah,
valve.
what you just heard was Neil declaring that basically, while we're having this concise explanation for an audience's benefit, Zanik's not allowing it for the Discord server only. Obviously, I take control of that shit. I don't allow that, Zanik. Yeah, I know you think you're doing well by obfuscating everybody in the Discord server, whatever 24 people that there are in there, but we're still going to rip your nonsense to pieces. Your sky doesn't have a valve. By demonstration, to have the vacuum in the first instance, he's got to have that contained also, Zanik. But according to your religious zealot belief in a sky vacuum that you're now going to try and talk through, the sky doesn't have a valve. It's just completely open access for the gas that we're breathing to fill that space. Now, because of that natural law, it means the sky is definitely not a vacuum. Now, in his demonstration, he's got a contained vacuum and some contained gas, bromine. He opens a valve and it fills the vacuum. Now, your sky doesn't have containment or a valve.
The valve is only a force. That force can be provided by
Now
what?
the valve
Air
is
is
the
weight.
force, Nathan.
Weight.
What'd you say, QE?
Yeah, he's pulling an M. Scott Veach. M. Scott Veach said that force doesn't equal MA. Force equals W Charlie, Whiskey Charlie. That means the walls of a container. Now we have Zanuck saying that force equals valve.
Yeah, force equals mass times
Say it,
gravity.
say it, go
No, he's scattergunning and obfuscating now. I've asked him if the sky that's a vacuum. So, okay, let's just get it clear for an audience what I'm asking him. Because he's just talking through me right now. He's not even listening to a word I say. But for the audience's benefit, while Zanuck obfuscates every single word I say to him. This guy has got two things in his container, right? With a valve between them. One of them is a vacuum. The other is a gas. So this half is empty. No gas. This half is full of a gas, bromine. Now, if this was analogous to Earth, with gas pressure, which we definitely have, and this is analogous to the sky, a vacuum, I want to know, what valve is there between the two? That's what I want to know.
And I'll answer you. So the valve creates a force.
No. What valve between us, Earth, with gas pressure, like this dude holding an orb, nice coincidence that it's spherical, an orb with gas pressure, notice he's got to have containment around it, I might add, but he's also got something analogous to what the sky is, which is a vacuum in this other orb. And I'm saying, given that this is analogous to the sky, it's supposed to be a vacuum in your religious belief, and given this is analogous to Earth, it's gas pressure, what valve is between the sky vacuum in your religious belief and the gas pressure on Earth?
Well, the force is that valve. The force can be the air's weight or it can be an acceleration.
Sorry, there is no valve between us and the sky vacuum in your fundy belief. You're just saying valve is a force? No, a valve is a valve. It's a mechanical thing. It's not a force, it's a valve. You're a retard. It's not a force, it's a valve. And I'm asking what valve? Physical. It's like this thing in his hand, he's holding it. What valve is between us and the sky vacuum?
Let's show that the valve causes a force, because the valve is...
What valve? What valve is between us and the sky vacuum to make the analogy comparable between Earth with its gas pressure and the sky with its vacuum? What valve is between us and the sky vacuum?
The air's weight. That is the force.
That's not a valve. That's not a valve. Do you not know what a valve is? Do you want me to define valve? Can somebody on the panel, while I'm talking to him and he talks through every word to Discord, can't he? Can somebody look up the definition of valve for me, please, and just bring it up on screen? And I want to know what meets that definition to make it analogous to his sky vacuum. And do we have, in the form of his bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time, is that comparison drawn when you bring up the definition of valve? Is it the same thing?
Yes.
I know you think yes, Zanuck. I know you think yes. You're a retard. Anybody on the panel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
Perfect. I'll just pop it back
From
on screen.
Merriam-Webster definition of a valve, any of numerous mechanical devices by which the flow of liquid, gas, or loose material in bulk may be started, stopped, or regulated by a movable part that opens, shuts, or partially obstructs one or more ports or passageways.
It's a mechanical
Obstruction,
device.
a force.
So it's a mechanical device. And I want to know what mechanical device is between us and the sky vacuum to stop entropy increase, which is what's being demonstrated by the guy in the example. So he's got a vacuum. Your sky's supposed to be a vacuum. He's got gas pressure. We've definitely got that bit here on Earth. We've definitely got this bit, gas pressure. And between the two, to stop entropy increasing, he's got a valve. What valve, mechanical device, is between us and the sky vacuum, Zanik?
The weight of the air is that valve.
That's not a valve. You've, at a fundamental level, haven't listened to what John just read out as the definition of valve. Can you read it once more, QE? Maybe not. Has he buggered off for breakfast? At the moment.
Wait, read what?
I just wanted him to read the definition of valve again. If he's disappeared, I'll just round the show out. We've already had it once. Oh, he's still there. Happy days. He's still there, QE?
Yeah?
I just want you to read out the definition of valve again, because we've had the same circle jerk happen.
I frigging exited out of it. I figure everyone knew what a valve was.
Yeah, it's a mechanical device. I mean, in the picture, it's pretty clear that what the guy's showing is supposed to be analogous to Earth with its gas pressure and the sky vacuum. Well, and in order to have one and the other, he's got to have containment in both instances going on.
It's a Choco interruption, I think.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, he was just...
I was on mute.
I think you slipped off mute.
And then you unmuted and we heard your background noise.
Okay, don't worry. Yeah, so we've got something that's analogous to the sky vacuum in the form of this orb. And in order to keep... This is never going to work.
Yeah, the definition of valve again, if you wanted.
I think he's got his phone in his pocket and he's just slipping off mute. I'll try a third time and then I'll give up. Is that my cue to give up? Right. According to this... I'm going to put that line on mute. For fuck's sake. According to this example, we've got a vacuum, and they claim in the heliocentric world that the sky is a vacuum. We've also got gas pressure. Now, that we don't need to affirm this claim, we definitely have gas pressure on Earth. We're breathing it. Now, in order to keep the gas pressure from moving into the vacuum by way of an entropy increase, he's got to have mechanical devices separating the two and containment for both. Now, the reality of the heliocentric religion is they don't have any containment whatsoever. Hence the question, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Because as you can see on screen, for both the vacuum and for the gas pressure itself, both require the antecedent of a container. And without something between the two, one flows into the other.
Bromine, and in the other I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other. Now that is the simplest change we can have, perhaps, because all that happens is a change in entropy. In this case, the expansion into a vacuum, nothing else is involved. There's no energy change, there's no temperature change, there's no change except entropy.
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Nathan Oakley Premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making this this after show possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!